There is our red button. So welcome, everybody. This is Wanda Huberman. For those of you that may not have met me or know me, I am the Executive Director of the National Health Association. I am so thrilled to be having this webinar, and that Bridie Reed of World Vegan Travel is going to really give us a ton of information about the upcoming South Africa trips. I am going to be taking a trip to Tuscany with World Vegan Travel, Bridie Reed and her partner Seb. Seb will be on the chat session. He will be helping to answer questions. So feel free to put your questions in. We'll do our best to get to them. This is being recorded, and at the bottom, you will, at times during this podcast or during this webinar, you'll see where you can find the recording. You'll see where you can email Bridie or where you can email me with questions. So if your questions aren't answered, don't worry, we will get to them later. We are doing a Tuscany trip in May, and we do happen to have, I think, a spot for 3 or 4 more people. So let us know if that interests you. But for today, we're going to focus on South Africa. And I am going to answer one question, and Bridie can tag team on this. Kathy has already asked about seeing that our trip is sold out. So it depends where you're getting the information. We've had a number of posts. I am so pleased with the engagement and the activity this trip has raised. Within probably 10 days, the trip was sold out. And for those of you who don't know, we have various levels of membership. And so I just thought, in an effort to be fair, our life members get first notice of these trips. And then we give notice to our Century Club members. And then we make sure all of our members have notice before we post this to anybody outside. So it's important to know that this was filled with our life members, with the exception of maybe one Century Club member. We were so excited about that Bridie and Seb, Mark and I are going to stay. The first trip is from Bridie. What were the dates? They end.
Hang on.
It's earlier November. And October 31st to November 8th. That is the trip that's sold out. Then we're just going to take a couple of days to regroup, and we're going to do the exact same trip, an excursion with the safaris and the bush camps a second time around. And that's going to be November 11th to November 19th. That opened up for registration just a couple of days because we had already given it to all of our Life and Century members. We opened it up to everybody. So anybody that is a member can register. And quite frankly, we've had it out to all of our members for close to a week. So it is possible that those on this webinar may not be members, and they are also going to have the chance to register. We have had 14, there are 24 spots. And I will be quiet in just a minute because this is really Bridie's cup of tea. I'm going to be there having fun with all of you, but they have vetted this area. They have been there. They are going to be our experts. They are connecting me with our chefs, so we will get delicious whole food plant-based cuisine that is prepared without any salt, oil, or sugar. So for those that have traveled with the NHA before, I am fully expecting a very similar experience. I'll be working with Bridie when we're in Tuscany, so this won't be our first trip together. We'll really have this nailed by the time we get to South Africa. And Kathy, yes, November 11th to 19th is not sold out. And if you want to register, maybe Seb can put the link in the comments section and you can register. Like I said, I think we have 10 spots left, so it is very possible they will fill up shortly after this, or you can register during this. But I'm going to be quiet. I will also try and watch the chat some while Bridie is filling us in, and she'll let me know if there's anything else I can help with. Thank you so much, Bridie.
Is it over to me?
It is over to you. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Let me just share my screen. slideshow. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm so thrilled to be sharing this some information about our collaboration with the National Health Association on the second departure of the NHA's Whole Food Plant-Based SOS-Free Botswana trip, second departure from the 11th to the 19th November 2025. So it's a long way in the future, but time passes quickly. So if you're booked, it'll be here before you know it. As Wanda said, we have only 10 spots left in that trip, and there are a limited number of single rooms or solo traveler rooms for just single occupancy. So I think we have a couple of those left. If that is interesting to you, then I would say please don't delay. We put this in here, Wanda, because I think, but maybe most people are familiar with what you do with travel. I don't know whether you wanted to talk to that for a moment.
Sure. So recently, the NHA, we had booked a cruise with Windstar. We've done a number of cruises, and it was Israel to Greece. And of course, with the war, the Israel part got canceled. So it was Athens to Athens, and this was just Mark and I had a couple extra days in Athens, and this was us, I guess, heading toward the Acropolis.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so I'd just like to talk a little bit about who we are. I'm sure anyone listening to this knows Wanda and Mark and the NHA very well, but who are Seb and I? So Seb and I are the co-founders of World Vegan Travel. We have been running luxury vegan group trips for vegans and vegan curious, often partners of vegans, come and join us on our trips. And we've been doing that since 2017. Before that, Seb was working in TV production. I was working in education. And Seb and I actually met when we were tour leaders working for another company in 2005. So we've sort of been running travel, doing logistics for a long time. We've lived in 7 countries each, so not super worldly, but we've lived in lots of places around the world, including spending basically the past 20 years living in Asia. We're both ethical vegans. We've both been vegan for 15 years each, and we've now run many trips to Botswana. The trip that we're talking about is mainly in Botswana, but arrives and departs in South Africa. We've also run trips in Rwanda, and also a couple of trips in the Garden Route in South Africa as well, which is also an amazing destination. And we've also won an award from People for Ethical Treatment of Animals. This was, I think, the beginning of last year, where we won an award for our animal-friendly safaris. And we've got some good customer feedback as well. I think Seb is having some problems sharing some links in the chat, but if we can get that fixed, and there are links in the chat that you would like to check out later on, I invite anyone listening to click on them and then maybe open them up in another browser and they can have a look at that later.
Friday, I am also having trouble sharing these links. I will pass them over to V-Lynn via another manner and see if she's able to do that for us.
Thank you, V-Lynn. Thank you, Wanda. All right, so there is literally so much I can say about this incredible destination and this incredible trip. So please feel free to put any questions that you might have in the chat. I think there's some over on Facebook as well. I think between the 4 of us, we'll hopefully get them answered. I just wanted to run through what you can expect from today's information session. I thought it might be interesting for people to know how the NHA and World Vegan Travel collaboration came about. We're also going to talk about the itinerary, and then we're really going to try to address some of the commonly asked questions about this trip. We've run it quite a few times, so we were able to preempt a lot of answers to questions that come up. We'll talk about some vaccinations. This is often an issue for many people. They're wondering what kind of vaccinations they need to take. We'll talk about staying safe and healthy. We'll talk about water, malaria, rabies, things like that. We'll talk about transportation, the accommodations that you can expect on this trip, how you can protect your investment. This is super important because the trip is literally so far in the future that absolutely anything can happen. And also, if we've got time, hopefully V-Lin will share a video of a previous trip that we've done. And also, a lot of people might like to extend their stay in South Africa before or after the trip. And then we'll hopefully answer some questions. All right. I can't see anybody's face, Wanda, so please let me know or interrupt me if I'm missing something. So, yeah.
Thank you. I see that V-Lin was just able to post the PETA link, and I'm going to now share with her the registration link. So I would just invite those online with us to keep track of the links in the chat section. We will get them up there.
Fantastic. All right. So, Wanda, we have been talking I looked up our emails. We've been talking since the 23rd of January last year. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. And I believe we will be meeting up in Tuscany soon.
Yeah, and you originally reached out to us, I think, for some help with some pre or post food options or activities on some of your cruises. When I explained I couldn't do that, we just sort of started talking about how other ways we might collaborate, and it became clear that we were in alignment on many things, right?
Right. It's been great. So we're in alignment on everything, and I would think the newest thing that the NHA and that I bring is just our added health efforts, and what have helped so many of our members to have whole foods that are unprocessed and prepared without salt, oil, or sugar. So I know that's new to you, but that's why Mark and I will be there, and I'm working directly with the chefs, and I have a lot of confidence. And in fact, the chef in Tuscany had already done other events where he prepared the food this way. So
yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be awesome.
And the fact that our groups are so small. I mean, I do this with a chef and 300-400 people in larger groups, that I have a lot of confidence that this is going to be quite extraordinary with only 24 people.
Me too. Me too. So, full disclaimer, Seb and I do not eat whole food, plant-based, SOS-free all of the time. We do mostly when we're at home, but we do also really understand the very important reasons and good reasons why people do choose to eat this way. And, just for fun, I'll share that I have done the T. Colin Campbell's course through, I think it was Cornell or something like that. So I'm really familiar with a lot of the reasons why people eat this way. So you get a lot of support from Seb and I as well. So we understand why you will choose to eat this way 99% or 100% of the time, and we're very keen to make sure you have that experience. So yes, we have the Tuscany trip coming up. There is still space available if anyone is interested. And let's get on to the itinerary. So I've chosen pictures from our trips to illustrate this slideshow. So hopefully that's interesting for you. Arrival day is in Cape Town. Whether you arrive on arrival day or whether you arrive a couple of days before and decide to do some fun things in South Africa and the surrounding area, we meet on day one, sort of early to mid-afternoon. And we have a welcome meeting in this lovely hotel, well, Heligan, as the Afrikaans pronunciation. And I'll show you some more pictures of that in a little while. And after we have some sort of wonderful activity in Cape Town, we come back and we have a dinner. This is, of course, like just a vegan dinner. Of course, this is whole food. Yours will be whole food, plant-based, SOS-free, of course. And on the right of this, you can see Arabella. She is our private chef. And we decide to have our meal in the hotel this day, because very often people are quite tired and we want them to be able to go back to their room, because there is a little bit of organizing with the packing situation. Basically, on the bush plains within Botswana, we're very limited in the size of the luggage that we can take and the type of luggage we can take. They're quite small and they have to be soft shell. They can't be hard shell. So usually about the size of a regular carry-on, but it needs to be soft shell. Often people will put it in a duffel bag or something like that. Of course, if you book the trip, then there will be a lot of information, because this does seem to be something that people are a little bit confused about. But that's why we have the the evening here, so that people can go off and organize their bags. Arabella, our chef, I'm not quite sure if she'll be our chef at this hotel for this one, but we are talking about getting a private chef, a vegan chef, who of course will be cooking food for us all, and they will be preparing the dinners. They'll be preparing the breakfasts here, and I'm also starting to think about maybe that our travelers will be able to order meals from in advance if they want to eat before the trip or after the trip, if they're staying extra days. So I feel quite confident that we'll be able to provide some really lovely whole food plant-based SOS-free food for travelers even outside the trip. But again, we've got to, we'll sort that out a bit later. And we will try to have an early night, because the next day is quite an early morning and there's kind of like a lot to organize. So let's talk about day 2. Day 2 is a little bit of a travel day. So we arrive at Cape Town Airport, usually at about 8 o'clock in the morning or so. And then, of course, it's an international flight because we're going to Botswana. And so we have to arrive a bit early. So, we're twiddling our thumbs a little bit. And then we take a regular plane. You can see it there, to Maun. Maun is a small town in the north, city, I guess, in the north of Botswana. And this is generally seen as like the jumping off points for the bush planes to take us to all of the camps in the Okavango Delta and the Savuti National Park, things like that. So yes, we leave Cape Town, then we arrive in Maun. We get met by a member of Desert Delta, a representative there, and then we get put on 2 bush planes. The bush planes I'll show you a picture of a little bit later, and then we fly to Camp Okavango. And we're usually there by about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it is a bit of a long travel day. We try to make it as fun as possible. But then we arrive in Camp Okavango, and then we walk from the airstrip at Camp Okavango, where we took our bush planes, and then we have a safety briefing, get checked into the rooms if we have time, and then we go out on our afternoon activity. And I'll talk more about what the activities are in Camp Okavango, because they are maybe a little bit different to what you might expect. And then by 7 o'clock, we arrive back in Camp Okavango, freshen up and have dinner. So that's basically what the first day looks like. Okay, let me move my things here. All right. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what a typical day on safari is like. This will be replicated on all of our full days for the safari. Hopefully that will be useful. All right. So in Camp Okavango, they don't have jeep safaris, like jeep drives. They're all water-based or walking activities. But no matter which camp we're at, they all follow like a very similar kind of schedule, let's say. So basically you get woken up at 5:30 in the morning. Yes, 5:30 in the morning by our guides. They knock on our door and they make sure they hear a response from us before they leave. And then at 6 o'clock, we walk over where a breakfast is served. It's generally like a light breakfast. It's not the full breakfast. We have brunch a little bit later on. And then at 6:30, we start our morning activity. Why so early? It's because this is when the animals are the most active. Animals don't do much during the hottest part of the day. That's why we do things in the morning and the late afternoon. So 6:30, we start our morning activity, and we go and have fun. We do all of that. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Then at about 9 o'clock, we'll have some sort of morning drink refreshment. We'll meet up with the rest of our group. We'll have a morning drink somewhere. And then usually at about 10 o'clock, we return back to Camp Okavango or Camp Savuti for brunch. This is like a buffet type setup, and it really is a full brunch. Like really, it's like a main meal. And then everybody has plenty of time to just rest. So because we have early mornings and quite late evenings as well, we really encourage people to just rest, nap. It is a little bit warmer at that time of the day. There is a pool for people to use. Of course, there are plenty of common areas where you can enjoy socializing with your new friends. But basically, during that hottest part of the day, it's designed for rest. There is internet at the lodges, but I will say it is very slow and very, very patchy. So please do not think that you will be able to work for some reason during the middle of the day with all of that free time. Really, the most you can expect is to send a few WhatsApp messages, and only in certain areas. We've asked Desert Delta to get Skylink, but they haven't yet. All right, so after we've rested, we meet at 3:30 for afternoon tea, some sort of snack or so, and then at 4 o'clock approximately we start our afternoon activity again towards the end of the day. Then we will have some sort of drink out in the bush somewhere, and then at 7 o'clock we'll return from the afternoon activity. It has to be at 7 o'clock because this is when the hippos get more active in the water-based activities, and in Savuti, the national park expects all jeeps to be out of the national park by 7. So that's why we have to be back at 7. We have a little bit of time to get ready for a dinner or having some sort of pre-dinner beverage, sharing stories. And then usually at about 8 o'clock, we will meet in the dining area for dinner. It will usually come as a plated appetizer, and then a buffet main course and a plated dessert. And after dinner, or whenever you're ready, you are escorted back to your room by the guides. I'll talk a little bit about why that is in the safety part presentation of this. Okay, that was a lot. Am I okay, everyone? I can't see the chat. I can't see anything. So, Wanda, is everything okay?
Everything's good. So we're trying to post some links. That's a bit of a challenge. It doesn't look like a hyperlink, but if you just copy and paste those to maybe a notes section, you should be able to easily open those. And of course, any specific questions, you can let either of us know. So
Fantastic.
I would enjoy the presentations, not worry about the links so much, but we did post a link where you can register. I'll be online tonight. I don't know about Bridie and Seb. I'll be happy to send out a little bit of info if you want to let me know right after this is over.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Interrupt me, Wanda, if you need to.
Thank you.
I'd love to spend a few minutes talking about the types of activities that you can expect in Camp Okavango. As I mentioned, they do not have jeep safaris here, partly because the whole place is surrounded by water. And there are 3 main activities that you can enjoy when we are in Camp Okavango. The first one is the motorized boats. They're these sort of small little, I don't want to say tin boats, but they're very sort of comfortable. I really wanted to include this picture here because you can get a really good sense as to how the seating is, how the shade is, and how you walk on and off the boats. So as you can see, it's quite easy to walk on the boat. I'm just trying to help people that might have some sort of accessibility issues. Of course, there are many people to help you, but this picture shows you what that's like. And these boats, even though they're motorized, and some might say they're not so nice, they are a little bit noisy, I guess, but this is just such a fantastic way to be able to see crocodiles, hippos, and birds as well. The Okavango Delta is absolutely incredible for birds. Some people love birds. Some people are not so bothered about birds. They prefer the mammals. And I'll talk a little bit later on about how we cater to everybody's needs in that area. But the motorized boats are really, really lovely. And as you can see, the reeds, that you can see some papyrus in the background. The skies are just absolutely incredible. And it really, really is lovely. So that is one of our activities. Yes.
Can I interrupt and ask a quick question? It's one I have, so I don't know if others. As I look at the boat, that picture, it looks like what, maybe 3, 6, 8 people or so can fit on a boat. So is everybody having the opportunity, if there's 24 of us, there's 3 or 4 of these boats all going out together?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. The second kind of activity, which is much more sort of peaceful and chilled, I guess, is the Mokoro boats. A lot of people are a little bit worried when they see these boats because they think about hippos and they think about crocodiles. But I'm happy to tell you that neither of these things are an issue. The Mokoro boats are ridden by the incredibly knowledgeable guides. You can see one of them in the back here, and the Mokoro boats are put in water where it's very, very shallow. So it's not a place where crocodiles are. It's not a place where hippos are. So it's very, very shallow, and it's super relaxing. And we can just see so many beautiful birds and some animals, maybe some of the shy animals where the motorized boat might scare them off a little bit. And this is just an absolutely dreamy activity to do in the late afternoon. I mean, as you can see, the sky is beautiful and the reflections is beautiful. So this is another one that we have, and we have enough boats to fit the whole group. And I will say that later, depending on interest, we can, if we have an activity and then we have another group that really wants to do another motorized boat trip, and some people that really want to do another Mokoro trip, we can really cater to that as well. But usually that's towards the end of our stay. Another activity that I think, again, people are very surprised at, and this is available at Camp Okavango, is a walking safari. So you're walking through the bush. Now, I'm sure people are thinking, what? You can just walk through the bush when you are in a place where there's lions and elephants and things like that? And the answer is yes. Basically, we split up into small groups, maximum of 8 people. We have a head guide. You can see him at the front there. And we have a guide at the end of the group. And we have very strict instructions to follow. There are 8 people in a group. And we have to be extremely quiet, and we have to follow the instructions of the guide. And there are very strict rules as to how we can speak. And the reason for this is because these guides are really constantly assessing the environment that they are in. First of all, because they want to show us some cool stuff. And secondly, to make sure that we stay safe. And as you can see there is the guide there is carrying a gun. This is purely prevention. And I know for some ethical vegans out there, that might make them worry a little bit. Oh my goodness, I would hate for a lion to be killed on my account, that kind of idea. But I will tell you that all of these guides get training to use their gun every year. They get some, this particular guide, he told me that he has never had to use it in 16 years of guiding. But of course, he has to practice every year to keep his experience, his skill levels sharp, so that he knows how to use it. But we have seen the most wonderful things on walking safaris. Number one, we get to see the small things, the plants and the small animals and the termite mounds, which might not sound very interesting, but trust me, it is really interesting, especially the way the guides communicate. The guides have an amazing level of English in Botswana. English is one of the official languages, and they are able to not only explain it, but explain it in an engaging way. And we've also seen leopards, we've seen lions from afar, we've seen elephants, all on our walking safaris. And one thing that really sticks out in my mind is we got to see, one time I got to see this incredible family of warthogs. Warthogs are, you see them often when you're on drives, but they're very, very skittish of jeeps. So they will just run away when they hear the vehicles. So by going on a walking safari, actually, they don't have very good vision. So I found that they were just even like walking towards us, and we got to see this incredible warthog family on a walking safari. This is not something that you would normally see if you're on a jeep safari. So it's a great balance of activities. So these are the 3 different kinds of activities that we can enjoy on Camp Okavango. So on day 3 to 4, we experience all of those activities with the schedule that I said. And then day 5, we travel from Camp Okavango to Camp Savute. So the bush planes that we use and the company that organizes the bush planes, it's not like a regular chartered plane ride. So basically, I don't know how they do it. It must be the craziest logistical jigsaw puzzle, but basically they're trying to sort a schedule out of getting all of these people from all of the different camps in Botswana to different places. So as you can imagine, it's a little bit of a logistical puzzle. So basically on day 4, the day before, we find out what time we would be leaving Camp Okavango to go to Camp Savute. And of course, we communicate this to you the day before. We give you a full briefing every single night so that you know what you will be expecting. But usually it will be one of the 2 ways. So for example, we would do a morning activity in Camp Okavango, come back and have brunch at Camp Okavango, and then fly to Camp Savute. Or we have our morning activity in Camp Okavango, finish at the airstrip, take the bush plane, the 20 minutes, I think it is, to Camp Savute, and then have brunch there. So that's basically what we do. This picture that you're looking at right now is arriving at Camp Savute, and we are having our safety briefing before we get our keys to go here. So this is one of the common areas of Camp Savute, and it's a little bit hard to see, but if you look outside on the right hand side, you can see one of the staff members looking outside. Chances are she's probably looking at the water hole, because chances are there are some incredible animals to look at. So yes, from our dining room we have a water hole, and we can see all sorts of incredible animals, especially in the evening. That's really nice. All right, so after we've had the safety briefing, we rest until afternoon tea, go out on our afternoon tea, and then return at 7 o'clock for dinner. Okay. And then on days 6 and 7, we have 2 full days to enjoy Camp Savute and the national park there. And this is where we enjoy our jeep safaris. I wanted to give you a good picture of what the Jeep looks like. It's not, as you can imagine, it's not very, very level bitumen roads. It's all sort of like a little bit bumpy. So that is definitely something to consider. For example, my mum has quite severe osteoporosis, for example. I don't think she would be okay in a Jeep like this. It would just be too hard on her old bones, as she calls it. So, but for most people, it's very, very comfortable. And you can see that the steps, the seats are in rows. So the back one is higher than the ones in front of it. And there will be, if we sell out the trip, and I'm sure we will, there are 4 Jeeps. So an average of 6 people per Jeep, but there's plenty of rooms for everyone's belongings. You can see you have to step up a little bit. There's a space next to the driver as well. So even if we sell out the whole camp, there's still plenty of room for us to really have a nice time there. So as I said, we'd have a morning activity in the Jeeps and then an afternoon activity in the Jeeps, and all the morning tea, dinner, brunch, breakfast, lunch, it all follows a very similar pattern. Okay. And then on day 8, we have to do that travel day in reverse, except it's always a little bit sadder because we're leaving safaris. So so we have to take our bush planes back to Maun. I included this picture here because sometimes, very rarely, we have had to travel back by helicopter. There was 1 bush plane and like 2 helicopters or so. That was very exciting. And these plane rides are really, really lovely. We don't know if we will get helicopters on our trip, but it was a bit of a wonderful thing. And then when we arrive in Maun, of course, we have to check in, and it's an international flight, so we're twiddling our thumbs for a while, but everyone is just chit-chatting and having fun. We arrive in Cape Town. This is the picture on the right is just us going from the plane to the airport. We pick up our luggage and then we head back to the Welheligen hotel, where we will have our final dinner, whether it's there or another place. We're not quite sure yet, but whatever it is, it will be rather special, because something that we do like to do is make sure that the final night is something unforgettable for our travelers. Okay, and then the following day is departure day. That's when the group tour is officially over. Some people will be extending their stay and doing some other activities. Something that we might offer, Wanda and I, we've talked about maybe we could offer a little extension trip to explore some of the wonderful things that there are to do in Botswana, whether that's after the trip, probably after the trip as a group activity. That would be optional, of course. But of course, we have some partners in South Africa who will be able to organize some wonderful things with you, and maybe we can have that private chef to make sure that you've got a really good packed lunch or something. Not sure yet, but it's a detail that we're thinking about. And of course, our trips include airport departures. So in this case, a few of our travelers are heading back to the airport together. I just took screenshots from a video. That's why the quality isn't very good, but there we are. So that's the itinerary. All right. So I do want to spend a good amount of time talking about safety, because there are some safety concerns. But with some knowledge of this, then I really do think that we can address this and make sure that you all stay safe. Many of you will have heard that Cape Town is not a safe place, that it is very dangerous, and that there is lots of crime. Unfortunately, this is true, but any crime that you are likely to encounter would not be violent. I'm fairly confident. Sadly, a lot of violence happens in certain neighborhoods and in the townships, but the most crime that any one of you would experience could be some sort of pickpocketing or some sort of financial scam. And of course, when we talk about this at length before the trip, and this is only really when you're in your own time. If you are arriving in Cape Town or staying before the trip starts or afterwards. When you're in a big group with us, then of course everything is very, very safe, safety in numbers. But basically some things that you need to do is basically do not walk around after dark. Use Ubers. Uber works very well. Keep valuables and passports in the hotel safe. Super important. Hotels are very secure. And really just keep your wits about you. Don't have your phone in your jeans pocket, for example. That's asking for trouble. And be skeptical of anyone that's trying to be super, super helpful, unfortunately. And yes, of course, when you're with the group, you're very, very safe, and you are with a large number of people. We are with local guides as well when we are there. And you do get airport transfers when you arrive from the airport, so you don't need to worry that you're feeling that you've got to make your own way to the hotel, of course. And we will also have a WhatsApp group. You will have WhatsApp contact details with me, with Seb, with the rest of our group, so that you can contact us if you need to. Make sure you don't attract attention. Keep your phone zipped up somewhere very safe to avoid pickpockets. And while this isn't strictly safely related, you might have heard about load shedding in South Africa. So we're fortunately, as travelers, we're okay about it. But basically what that means is some areas, including Cape Town, they experience scheduled power cuts throughout the day. And this is called load shedding, and it's to do with there not being enough energy requirements to meet the needs of the country. There's a whole big long story about it. Really interesting to Google if you're interested. But hotels have generators for backup, but it's always worth carrying a little bit of cash around with you, just in case you want to buy something. You would like to pay by card, but their machine is not working because it's load shedding. There's a power cut. So having a bit of money on you is a really good idea, but not too much, and certainly don't attract attention with flaunting lots of money around. So that really is the ways to stay safe in Cape Town. It might sound a little bit scary or overwhelming, but it really isn't. And of course, we talk about that with our travelers. All right. Let's talk about staying safe in Botswana, because we're in a completely different place. We're out in the countryside where there's hardly anyone else around. We certainly don't need to worry about crime, but there are some things about staying safe in Botswana. First of all, animals. Yes, of course, there are a lot of predators, and they could cause you some damage in some situations, but there are lots of ways that we mitigate this. So first of all, we get a full safety briefing by the guides when we arrive. But basically, when you are wanting to go to or from the room at nighttime, this involves you having to ask a guide to come and pick you up. So an example of this is we finish from our afternoon activity at, let's say, 7 or so, and the guide will ask you, when do you want to be picked up for room for dinner? Dinner starts at 8, and you can say, okay, I'd like to be picked up at 7:45, please. And then the guide will come by at 7:45, and then they will pick you up. And of course, because they are very in tune with the environment, they will make sure that you get there safely. At nighttime, of course, we don't have phones in our room. So at nighttime, don't leave the room. And they have an air horn in case of a real emergency. So let's say somebody felt really, really sick or something really bad happened. There is an air horn that you can blow, and that will wake up everybody, and someone will come running. So don't need to worry about that. I talked a little bit about the walking safaris. I don't need to talk about that again. But I do want to talk a little bit about what happens in case of illness or accident, because for me, as this is something I think a lot about, like how we can make sure that our clients stay safe. But basically, if you were to have some sort of mild illness or mild accident that didn't require any, super urgent treatment, then basically what would happen is that the camp would contact a doctor in Maun, and if it wasn't urgent, they would put some sort of medication on the next flight that was coming in. It could be that day, it could be the day after. And one of our travelers did this, and he was absolutely shocked that all he had to pay was $8 for the doctor consultation and the medication itself. So that's kind of what would happen in the case of a mild illness. If something was a little bit more serious as well, we would have a doctor or a nurse flown in. The camps do have satellite phones. These are quite expensive, so they only use them when necessary. And they would come in and look at you and treat you, or if something was very, very serious, you would need to be medically evacuated in an air ambulance. Maybe some of you are familiar with this, but basically what would happen is you would be medically evacuated to the closest possible place that would give you good quality treatment. So depending on the situation, it might mean that you are flown to Cape Town, for example, in an air ambulance. And of course, your insurance would cover all of this as well. So that is basically what we would do in case of an emergency in Botswana. Okay. Staying healthy in Botswana as well. This is a bit of some people often worry about water. Just a moment, please. Okay, so first of all, drinking water in Botswana is fine and used in cooking and washing of all of the fruits and vegetables. The camp has a reverse osmosis filtration system. So there is plenty of water. You will not see it in plastic bottles, but that doesn't mean that it's not filtered. They have a reverse osmosis treatment machine in the camps, so that's always used. And it's important to let you know that even people in Botswana don't drink water straight out of the tap. Everyone is being very vigilant with using purified water, not only to drink, but also in cooking and the washing of salads, all of those kinds of things. And Desert and Delta, the other suppliers that we use, they are absolutely amazing, and they've been welcoming people in to their luxury camps for decades now, and they absolutely know what they are doing. There's a couple of times when you might be walking in a little bit of water. This sort of panics some people a little bit because bilisaria, there's another word for it. It's a type of parasite that's in snails. So it is present in Botswana, but it's very rare in running water. So I don't think this is something that people need to worry about. All right, let's talk about malaria. Malaria is present in Botswana, but rarely do you get bitten. It's not like a tropical rainforest kind of setup. So I'm one of these people that gets bitten all of the time, and I rarely get bitten in Botswana. So the logic is, if I don't get bitten very much, there's very, very low chance that I'm going to get malaria in this way. However, there are many things that you can do to protect yourself for malaria, and you can choose as many of these ones that you want. First of all, you can take some anti-malarials. There are lots of different types available. Your doctor can suggest something that's good for you. Another really great idea is to cover your body with light-colored clothing, especially at dawn and dusk. Think lightweight, long-sleeve pants and shirts. This is really good. Another one that I know not everyone loves, but you can also use mosquito repellent on exposed skin. There are some natural options, and there are some more chemical ones. Seb and I always bring some DEET, some of the more chemical stuff that you can use. And there's also this really amazing service that I learned about recently, 18 months or so ago, and it's called Insect Shield. And basically what you do is you put, you send some of your clothes to the insect shield headquarters. They give you a special envelope to send it. So you would send your clothes that you were going to be wearing on the safari. I should say that at the camps, they do washing every single day. So you actually don't need a lot of clothes, which is helpful because you don't have a lot of space for lots of different clothes. But you send off your clothes to Insect Shield, and they will impregnate the clothes with this stuff called peripherin, which is actually quite a natural substance. I believe it's some sort of chrysanthemum or carnation extract or something. Anyway, we give you the information for this, and it lasts for about 50 washes. And this is a really great option if you don't want to actually be putting a lot of chemicals on your skin. I will also say that the camp does a lot as well. They spray rooms when they're making during the day. If you don't want that, you can ask them to not do that. And you also sleep underneath a mosquito net as well. So we've never had a problem with malaria or even getting a lot of mosquito bites, but these are some ways that you can protect yourself. All right. So a lot of the time people look at the CDC recommendations for Botswana, and they can see that they need to get, that they're suggested that they get a vaccination for rabies. Personally, Seb and I have never done that, and of course it's entirely up to you, but there are no stray dogs or cats close by. We're in the middle of the wilderness, so it's very unlikely you would get inadvertently bitten by a stray dog or stray cat there. There are some bats around, and on rare occasions they might get into your room, but we have never yet had a situation where someone has been scratched or bitten or even got anywhere close to them. So I personally think that it's a very low risk, but you know, you decide that risk yourself. Okay. Vaccinations. I'd love to spend a moment talking about vaccinations. For more than a year now, I think, neither Botswana or South Africa has required you to have a COVID vaccination to enter, and you don't need a COVID vaccination to travel with World Vegan Travel, and neither do you need to show a negative PCR or rapid antigen test if you are not vaccinated in neither South Africa or Botswana. So that's the situation with COVID vaccines. A lot of people have a little bit of an issue when they sort of check things and they realize, oh, I need to have some sort of vaccination for yellow fever. I don't know how much you guys know about yellow fever, but it's basically an illness, a sickness that is prevalent in equatorial Africa and also equatorial South America. So you only need to show that you have been vaccinated against yellow fever if you are coming from one of those destinations. I would be very surprised if any of you were coming from any of those destinations. So you don't need to worry about that. So I hope that's clear. Chances are your doctor will suggest that you renew any of like the vaccinations that you got from a kid, but it's entirely up to you whether you do those. And there are some other recommended vaccinations as well, but none of them are mandatory. No one is checking. Please feel free to put some comments in. Honestly, I can't see the comments or anything through the back channel right now, but I'll just keep going. All right. I'm going to go through this super quickly. This is our accommodation for Cape Town for our first night and our last night. It's a boutique hotel and in a beautiful residential area. We would be taking over this whole hotel, so it would kind of be like our base camp. And we think it's very nice. You can see Table Mountain in the back here, and it doesn't look very big from here, but actually there's this building, and then there's a courtyard, and there's a building at the back as well. So there's plenty of room for all of us. We allocate rooms based on membership levels, and also how quick people book. So basically, the earlier you book, the nicer rooms that you get. But they're all very nice rooms, so you don't need to worry about that. All right, I would love to spend a moment, and hopefully Seb will be able to, or someone will be able to share some videos of the camps. They are absolutely gorgeous. This is Camp Okavango. Okavango is actually a delta, and you can kind of get a bit of a sense of it from looking here. And this is an aerial view. Here you can see the swimming pool there, and that other thatch building is the dining room. It's hard to see the rooms there. I'm going to show you what a room looks like in a little bit, but if you look carefully, you can see where the motorized boats are. I don't know whether you can see my arrow there, but that's where it is. And there's all of these elevated walkways. There's fireplaces, all of that kind of thing. You can see that it's very, very beautiful, very natural. And this is an example of the kind of room that you will expect. They're all the same pretty much. The room is absolutely enormous. This room is sort of taken from where, just sort of by the bathroom door, looking outside, you can see the bed there. It's huge. It's absolutely enormous. There's a desk there, not that you can do anything with internet. There's plenty of places for you to relax, enjoy, rest. The rooms are absolutely beautiful. And here is an example of the common area here. They light a fire every night. We can enjoy each other's company before dinner, listen to the sounds of the bush. So Camp Okavango, I think it could be my favorite of the different camps that we have stayed at. So yeah, it's very nice there. Camp Savuti is a very interesting camp because the pictures that I'm about to show you are actually artistic renditions, because this camp is being rebuilt as we speak, and it's opening, I think, in September this year. It was quite nice before, but it definitely needed a bit of a refresh, and it's being completely redone. As we can imagine, the materials used are very, very natural, and they're not allowed to leave any sort of permanent mark. So there's no sort of concrete footings or anything like that. And the result of that means that over a relatively quick period of time, the building degrades. So they have, so these pictures are an artistic rendition. The common area actually looks a little bit like this anyway. And as you can see, there is a water hole out the back. So animals are coming all day, all evening, all night, and it's just an absolute joy to see. We've seen like 130 elephants at nighttime drinking from this water hole. It's really something very special. And this is an artist rendition of the rooms in Camp Savuti. I'm super excited about this renovation. It's just going to be absolutely beautiful. So it looks like this time around they're going to have like canvas walls, just like Camp Okavango, which just makes you feel like you're more part of the environment. I absolutely love it. And as you can see, the rooms are really large. All right. So I'd love to talk a little bit about, let me get my notes up so I don't forget anything, about the bush planes, because people who are a little bit scared of flying, sometimes their fears can be multiplied when they think about these bush planes. The bush planes, they hold between 10 or 12 people, although that's been our experience of what we've had. And all of the pilots are, of course, excellent, and they have been flying people around for years and years and years. The conditions are very excellent, and they fly relatively low. So actually, as you're flying, you can see elephants from the air. So it's really, really cool. And the rides are like 35 minutes, 20 minutes, 35 minutes to get back to Mount. So they're really relatively short. and they're very nice. Let's talk a little bit about travel insurance. So this is something that I'm pretty big on in terms of recommending that people get travel insurance. So if people choose to join us, they would pay a deposit, and then once we reached our minimum number of participants, then the trip would be confirmed. And from then, of course, it's a very good idea to start thinking about protecting your investment. While vegan travel has quite strict terms and conditions, we have to pay a lot of money to secure the camps, and as a result, we are unable to offer any refunds, but there's plenty of really great ways that you can mitigate this risk by getting travel insurance. I think Seb is going to try, or someone is going to try to share the link about purchasing travel insurance. We have this special blog post that might be helpful for you all. But because potentially you're buying a trip for more than a year and a half in advance, anything can happen between the moment that you book, the trip is confirmed, and that we depart. So we really strongly suggest that you get a trip cancellation insurance as soon as you can. If you have to cancel for a covered reason, let's say between now and the trip departing, you or a beloved family member gets sick and you're unable to travel, or there's even an add-on that you could get for states in the United States. This is only for US residents, so this cancel for any reason an option, but there are four states that for some reason don't allow it, but there's a special add-on that you can get called cancel for any reason. So we recommend to people that they take this out if they feel that something could bubble up from when they book the trip to the actual trip. And covered reasons, you only get 75% of your money, of your non-refundable costs back, but that's certainly better than nothing on such an expensive trip like this. But if your cat got sick just before you were about to leave and you wanted to stay with your cat, or you just became fearful of travel, that would be a covered reason. There's a few little terms and conditions there, but there's a lot of information in the blog post that I wrote that should help you get the information that you need that will help you make a decision there. So we're all about protecting your investment, particularly for a trip that is so far in the future. Okay, nearly there. Let's talk a little bit about what the trip includes and what the trip does not include. So this trip includes, of course, all of your accommodation, your transportation, your flight to Maun from Cape Town return. It also includes tips. Now, most companies do not include tips because, it's seen as being like a sort of a personal thing. But Seb's and my approach is, tips can often be really stressful, and all of the guides and all of the staff at the camps should be given tips. And it's very much like, do I have the right money and how much do I tip? So we include all of the tips in the price of your trip, so that we just pay those tips on your behalf. And this is often a huge expense. It can often run into $500, $800 just to be paying what tipping should be, a generous tip, or an adequate tip, I should say. Laundry is also included, and of course you get a travel concierge. Seb and I are on hand to answer any questions that you might have up to the departure. We have a Zoom question and answer 1 month before the trip starts, so that all of the travelers can meet each other. We record it. If you can't come, that's fine. Seb and I will be there on the trip looking after you. Of course, all of the amazing guides at Desert and Delta will be there. And of course, Mark and Wanda from the NHA will be there. Mark and Wanda particularly, she's going to be helping a lot with the food. And they're going to be enjoying your company, just as we will be as well. But of course, Seb and I are looking after you, and we're there for you to answer any questions or make things happen, troubleshoot, whatever. Basically, our approach to running trips is that you can basically leave your wallet in the room at home. You don't need it because all of the food's included, drinks are included, everything's included. The only things that are not included are flights from your home to Cape Town, return, and that travel insurance. We don't include travel insurance because I don't think we're allowed to do so, and the cost of that will depend on your age and that kind of thing as well. So that's what it includes. Now, V-Lynn, I have a little video here. I'm not sure whether I should probably stop sharing my screen. I think that V-Lynn will share this. And just before you do, V-Lynn, I just want to mention that I wanted to share this video because it's a short one. It's only 5 minutes. We have some other ones that are a bit longer. And the only difference is on this video, we go to Camp Maremi and you won't see any of the water-based activities there. But I wanted to share this video because it's just 5 minutes. So V-Lynn, if you would like to share it, I'm going to put myself on mute. I'll just talk a little bit while that's coming through. I'm just having a look at the chats. Did we miss the chat about trip insurance? Is V-Lynn having some issues with the video?
Yeah, she hasn't said anything with me. I assume she was trying.
Okay. Oh, I think she's trying again.
There we go. Oh.
Fantastic. Are you excited to go, Wanda?
I am so excited. I can't wait. I'm so excited that we have 2 groups going. Um,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of the links did not post Friday. We were having great difficulty. Is it okay if anybody who wants the links emails you and Seb or you, and you'll
Yes.
just have a cut and paste email that you can send it out to them?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And
Okay.
I'm just seeing a couple of safari specific questions coming through. Connie is asking if it's rainy in November. I didn't really talk much about the weather, but there can be a little bit of rain. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Seb has his head around the rain, the weather, the climate compared with me. But November is a fantastic time to go. And the main reason for this is that there are a lot of babies. It really is the baby time of year. So it's if there's rain, sometimes the animals will be sheltering a little bit, depending on the rain, but very rarely is it going to, be a terrible problem for multiple days. And I see Seb has just put a comment here. It's the start of the rainy season. So a few showers here and there. It doesn't really impact us that much. And Kathy was saying, she just asked about the video footage. Yes. So that video was put together by one of our travelers. His name is Jeremy. And he took all of the pictures and all of the video, and he kindly put together that video. And that was the first ever trip that we did, where we stayed in Camp Savuti, the place where there's the watering hole outside, and where we will be going, and Camp Maremi, which is a safari camp, but we didn't do any water activities for reasons that I won't bore you with, but we didn't do any water activities on that trip. There was a lightning storm when we were going to go out on the motorized boats, so we thought that was probably not a good idea to go out on the motorized boats in a lightning storm with all of that metal. So we did jeeps instead. On the trips that we are going on, we've got Camp Savuti, which is all jeeps, and we've got Camp Okavango, which is the water activities, the motorized boats, the Mokoro, and the walking safari as well. And yes, all of that video footage was taken by Jeremy, and he did a great job. It's a lot of fun. So I think I've nearly finished with my little presentation. So I'm going to quickly finish up, because there are a couple of other little things that I wanted. Oh, hang on. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that you might like to do pre or post trip. I'll just do literally one couple of minutes on this. So Cape Town is an absolutely incredible destination. Wanda and I have been throwing a few ideas about creating an optional add-on, which would include some of these things. So I just want to talk about some of the more obvious things. There's the Cape of Good Hope. As I'm sure you're aware, South Africa, especially around Cape Town, has some absolutely beautiful coastline, and a lot of people like to go to the Cape of Good Hope to enjoy the beautiful views there. It's very, very accessible. You can take a little cable car to go up to here. So it's quite accessible, and you can see some beautiful things. And another really cool thing that I absolutely love is that you can see the African penguins. Boulders Beach is just about half an hour drive from Cape of Good Hope, and you can see these beautiful little penguins in their natural habitat. This is kind of like the main area where you can see them from elevated pathways, but just on the other side of these rocks here, there is an option to swim, and you can sort of swim, and you can go to a little secluded beach, and as long as you keep your distance, you can see the penguins there. So I absolutely love these penguins. I believe there's been a video.
Share your video.
What?
Share your screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Am I sharing, Wanda?
No.
Oh, Seb says, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. What happened there? Can you see it now?
No?
Oh, it's so weird. Why? Stop sharing. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm sharing my screen. I'll share my entire screen. Can you see it now?
No.
That's so weird. I'm literally sharing it, and it says that
There
I'm
we
sharing.
go. Now there's penguins. Lots
Right.
of penguins.
So sorry, everyone. Okay, this is the Cape of Good Hope. These are the penguins.
Thank you.
And another thing that some of our travelers like to do, there's a really great private game reserve about 3 hours from Cape Town as well, called Gondwana. We stay there in our garden route trips, and this is a place where you can see rhinos. You can't unfortunately see rhinos in you can't see rhinos in Botswana because they're very close to the border areas, and unfortunately some poaching can happen. So that's that. Sorry. Yeah, I can't do anything about that. Sorry, Seb's telling me some information. I'm sorry, the experience isn't great watching this right now, but that's the best I can do. So you can see rhinos in Gondwana as well as cheetahs and some other really great things as well. And I'm very happy to answer any questions. You are very welcome to send me an email at bridie@wellvegantravel.com, or you can send me a WhatsApp. I'm traveling in Australia at the moment, so it's a little bit hard until I'm back home next Tuesday to have calls, but you can certainly leave me a WhatsApp message and we can kind of go back forward on voice memos, almost like a phone conversation, and have questions answered. And I think you can also book a call with me and I'll be able to answer those questions when I am back in Canada, which is next Tuesday. All right.
Righty. We did put a link. We did put a link in the chat session on where they can book a call with you, but you're saying that you will be back in Canada on February 20th. Is that correct?
That looks about right, yes.
Right. So I'm sure your calendar's is probably got that time blocked until you're back up and running.
Correct.
Terrific. I think you did a great job. Thank you so much. There's so much to see. I can't even imagine it. The time must go so fast when we're there.
It does. But we do a lot of things to really try to stay in the moment, because when we're being mindful, we experience the present moment a lot more. So I didn't talk about this, but we will often have dedicated mindfulness jeeps and boats for those people that want to really quiet experience and want to really feel as connected as they possibly can feel.
I love that.
With exactly where they are, rather than chit chat talking about what's going on back home and what you've got to do when you get back. We try to make sure that we have those mindfulness quiet jeeps and vehicles so that we can really be in the moment as much as we can, because we've paid a lot of money to be in the moment, so we want to make sure we experience that moment to the fullest.
That's fantastic. Are there other camps close by, or will we pretty much be the only jeeps out there when we're on jeep safari or walking safari?
Great question. So in Camp Savuti, the area that we go is a national park. So it does mean that anyone, as long as they paid the entrance fees, has the right to go in there with their own jeeps, whether they're self-drivers or whether they're another company. But I will say this about Botswana versus Kenya versus Tanzania versus other national parks. Botswana really prides itself, or has taken an approach to high cost, high value tourism. So it's quite expensive to go to Botswana, which basically means that not that many people go. So we will see some other vehicles in Savuti National Park, but not that many in comparison with places like Tanzania and Kruger National Park, for example, in South Africa. For Camp Okavango, it's a little bit different. It is they have a private concession. A lot of people are confused about what this means, but basically it means this huge area of land has been leased to Desert and Delta, the company that organizes, that has the camps. It's been leased to them. They have the lease for 15 years, and they, of course, if they don't treat the land right, then it wouldn't be renewed. And basically during that time, they have exclusive access to all of that land. So basically in Camp Okavango, it is just our lodge there. And there's no roads, as Seb's put in the chat there. There's no roads. It's on an island. We've never seen any other boats. It's all ours. So I think that answers your question.
That's extraordinary. More animals than people, for sure.
Yes. I noticed that Debbie mentioned, what are the 2 trips Wanda mentioned? I'm not quite sure what Debbie mentioned.
Oh, I think I know. Hi, Debbie. Great to see you. So we mentioned that I will be traveling with World Vegan Travel and a small NHA group. I think this trip might be limited to 20 to Tuscany. We're going to be staying at 100% organic Agravilla. We'll meet up in Florence. We'll go as a group to the Agravilla, and then all of our excursions are prearranged. That's going to be in May. If you want any information, Debbie, send Bridie an email, send me an email. There's a couple of spots left. We'd love to have you join us. The other thing we mentioned is that there are 2 weeks that maybe this is what you were referring to. There are 2 weeks that we will be, or 2 safaris in Africa. The first safari sold out so incredibly quick that we thought, oh, I bet there's 20 more NHA members that want to come. So Bridie, Seb, Mark, and I will stay a couple of days to regroup, and then we'll just repeat the same trip for the second one. So from October 31st to November 8th is sold out, but you can register. The link was up above. If you need this link, you can email us and get it. It should be on my NHA Facebook travel page as well. And we have 10 openings for the second trip to South Africa, which we've been discussing. Those dates are going to be November 11th to November 19th. Correct? Is that the right date? Yeah. So let me know if that doesn't answer your question, Debbie. Oh, limited solo rooms, right. So if you're traveling by yourself, you'll really want to hop on that very quickly.
Okay.
All right. I think we've taken a lot more time than I expected. I'm glad isn't the first week no, Kathy, the first week is not with a professional photographer. The October 31st to November 8th will be the same. It'll be Bridie, Seb, Mark, and I. This is 2025. And then the second week will be November 11th to 19th. It's still going to be Bridie, Seb, Mark, and I. I kind of think the ones going the second week had the advantage that if there are any little tweaks, we'll have worked them out. So by the second week, everything should be really running very, very smoothly. Although I'm sure the first week will is also.
Yep. Fantastic. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much, Wanda, for this opportunity to talk about this wonderful trip with you and your members and audience. I'm so grateful. This is such a wonderful trip.
Bridie, can I take just a mention, because I know you did a shout out to yours. So if folks are not, to people who might follow you, so if there's anybody on here not familiar with the National Health Association, you can find more information about us on healthscience.org. I have a travel section. You can click on that and see the travel that I do, which will include Tuscany and Africa. We have also created on Facebook, National Health Association Facebook Travel. Let me know if that's not the way it is. But we also have a Facebook travel page, and all the information on Africa and our upcoming trips are on there as well. All right. Thank you, everybody. So glad you joined us. We look forward to seeing many of you soon. Bridie, safe travels home from Australia.
Thank you. Thanks, Wanda. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Phelan, for doing
and
the
remember,
work.
you can check out the recordings our YouTube channel. Again, if you go to healthscience.org, up at the top, you're going to see a tab that says NHA TV. Click on that tab and you should be able to find this recording.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.